Ladies and gentlemen, that time of the week again, 2 of 38 loading up for you here. We can, of course, dive back into game week one here very quickly. But before we do that, James and I did want to ask very politely, as we're into a new season, if you do like our videos, if you do watch me and James periodically, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button. We are on the long, arduous road to 2,000 subscribers. All of our current subscribers, we massively appreciate your support in getting to that mark. Again, just a bit of fun for me and James. So the fact that some people have kind of attracted themselves to it is amazing. We're so grateful. So yeah, let's look at game week one. Guys, it is Monday. It is 7:33. So we haven't seen Leicester play Spurs yet. But if Leicester and Spurs does not end as a 3-1 to Spurs, then I will be leading James by a solitary point. If that does happen, then we are tied on, oh my God, maths, 7 points apiece. So fine margins, obviously, after game week one. James, anything really jump out to you on game week one? It was a bit weird. This match week one felt more like preseason than any other season of Premier League football I've ever seen. Do you agree with that or not?
Um, Sorry, Jack, sorry, could you just repeat yourself? I just went
Yeah.
into a bit of a
Um,
brain freeze. Sorry.
just felt this match week one felt like preseason. I know it was the
Uh,
Premier League and I know we're back, but this year over any other year, this game week felt like I was watching a bunch of teams that were still in preseason.
100%. And for a lot of players, I think with the amount of games going to go on to this season, also the fact of there was a Copa America, there was Euros going on, also Jacks, the Olympics going on, all clustered into like a 6 week summer for these guys. So a lot going on. I feel like a lot of players feel like they're coming back soon. And that's what it is to me in the first game of the season. Not every team's ready. I don't think Arsenal fully ready. I think we had probably the best season preseason out of the lot, but City still have a lot. Man United still have a lot um to come back. Spurs, everybody's still kind of waiting to kind of get going. So the first game just mainly about getting just getting the 3 points, getting a good performance in. As the weeks go by, yeah, you're gonna see fitness build up and players start getting back into their usual mode.
So we kicked off game week one with Manchester United, and we're also, James, going to kick off game week two with Man United. Man United making the trip down to Brighton, obviously a nice there, because Roberto De Zerbi moved on, I believe, to Marseille, if I'm not mistaken. How have you got that game going? Kind of an interesting one.
Well, if I'm being honest to you, I did not see Brighton smashing everything the way that they did, which was very, very impressive. There, Manchester United kind of squeaking their way through to a victory. I think if I'm being honest, deserved, but at the same time, it wasn't blistering. I, I I look at both teams and I look at what Brighton can offer this year. We know what they've had with Graham Potter. We know what they've had with the Serbia team that when they turn it on can almost be unplayable. It At times I look at Manchester, I look at the last couple of games and it's kind of in Brighton's favor. Jack, I'm gonna say, I'm going to say 2-1 Brighton. I think Brighton are going to continue their good start to the season. And Jack, they're going to catch Manchester United off guard and beat them 2-1.
So sorry, as I just make some little adjustments here. I'm going the opposite way. I'm going 2-1 to Man United. James, I think Matis de Ligt starts this game with Lissandro Martinez as the partnership, and I think what that means. I mentioned this in the game week one video, and maybe this is going to be one of my cliches for the season for these game week predictions. I do think that the defensive line and the forward line are going to be closer together. So I think Man United will concede less shots this year. I think we have to remember, James, in Man United's first season under Eric Ten Hag, they had the most clean sheets in the whole league, which is something that I think a lot of people forget. The year following, we had a little bit of an issue where Man United conceded about 100 shots a game, and Casemiro was looking leggy and not good. Casemiro looked good in that first game of the season. I think the defensive line stepping up is going to be very helpful. I think this is a much better team. Some of the signings have been really, really special. And I just think that they'll go from strength to strength. I don't feel that strongly about it because I only have them winning by one goal, and I do think this will be in classic Man United fashion, late, I don't know if they're going to deserve it. Maybe it's a penalty, maybe it's a deflection, something of that nature. But I do just think they'll be able to scrape by. I'm still not fully convinced by this Brighton team and what they're going to be able to do. Although a lot remains to be seen. Obviously, the new manager bounce needs to be taken into consideration. What I will say to finalize that game, James, I'm not touching that game with a barge pole in terms of betting any of my money. I can tell you that for certain. So,
Nah.
guys, for me, going into Spurs versus Everton, James, I'm worried for Everton this year. I really am. I think Sean Dyche is a man who can keep teams up. I really think that's about it in terms of his style of football. I don't think he's capable of taking a team to European places or any higher than that. So I think his job is solely to keep teams in leagues. There's a market for that. Like, let's not get it twisted. If you're a team that's just coming up and Sean Dyche is available and you think you're one of the three teams likely to go down, I think that's the first phone call you make is for Sean Dyche. But I really think Everton are going to struggle this year. And James, Spurs, I think Dominic Solanke is going to get more opportunities. I'm hoping he does okay tonight. Again, you know how I feel about the centre of the defence for that Spurs team. I think they've probably got the best centre back room maybe in world football. I know it's a bit of a maybe a hot take, but I think with Dragusin, Van de Ven, and with Romero, very, very strong there in central defence for Spurs. Ange Postecoglou likes to push the boat out. First home game at the obviously the new Spurs stadium as well. So I'm going to say a pretty convincing 3-1 win for Spurs against Everton in game week 2. How have you got that one going?
Oh, Jack, I said in the last game, I think Everton having a big season, getting back up to, you know, the top half of the table, which they've struggled to in the past couple of seasons. I'm gonna back them that they still have the ability because it's the first game of the season. I don't like to be reactive, but at the same time, what I seen um against Brighton was not promising. I'm looking at the last few fixtures. Spurs are unbeaten in the last 7 against Everton in the Premier League. The last they've actually won the last 3 at home against Everton, including a 5-0 victory in there. So it's not a game that Everton go there with a lot of confidence in. I'm gonna have to back Spurs to win this game. I want to see how Spurs are going to do today, but because I'm going off the prediction, I'm going to say 3-0 Spurs.
Spurs, I like it. James, we will stick with you. Palace versus West Ham, another London derby. How have you got that one going?
I just gotta find it here. There we go. Palace versus West Ham. So both teams coming off losses. Probably more. I know West Ham were at home, but at the same time, it's a difficult game against a team like Aston Villa. I believe a team like Crystal Palace were a bit shocked by what Brentford were able to do to them. So both teams kind of desperately needing something from this game in a way no one wants to start off their first 2 games with like no points on the board here, Jack. I see it and I'm looking at this from this point of view. Both teams need a point. Both teams look like they'll be happy for a point, and I'm going to say it's going to be a draw. I'm going to say 1-0 versus West Ham and Crystal Palace and West Ham.
So I think Palace got kind of lucky. So I'm going to go on the basis that I do think Palace are good. I think the new manager.
I'm just looking at the recent fixtures here, Jack, and I'm just gonna bring out since 2021, 3-2, 2-2, 3-2. I'm gonna fast forward 4-3, 4-2. I'm
Bloody
gonna
hell.
say 2-2 draw in this game instead of 1-1, 2-2 draw in this game.
I
So there's
like
goals
it.
in this game, Jack.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, there's good research going on some half of this conversation, and there's not very much research and a lot of gut feel going on in the other part of the conversation over here. Um, I can go 1-1. I think Palace were hard done by. I like what the new manager is doing, has done. I think somebody like oh my God, Ismail Assar, I think will come through and be a pretty decent Michael Elise replacement there. Eberechi Eze, I think is absolutely brilliant. Mateta, I don't know if we necessarily saw the best out of him. I think he came off at half time. Hope everything's okay with him. And West Ham, very impressive transfer window, and I do like what they have going forward. But again, need to see some results with somebody like Lopetegui as well. That's going to be kind of demanding in terms of results because if not, we know with Lopetegui how things can kind of go down the pan very very quickly. So I'm going to say Palace at home, first game of the season at home. I'm going to just say that they kind of sneak a 1-0 win here and a pretty defensive performance from West Ham. Sticking with me, and we're going to take a quick look on the South Coast versus Southampton versus Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go 2-1. Again, I really don't have a good feel for Forest again. I don't know if I ever will. I just really don't understand kind of the makeup of that team and what they're generally speaking, what they're going for as well. I think they are a team that are potentially in danger of going down. And again, looking at their result from the weekend, a draw at home against Bournemouth is fair. A game you'd like to think that they might have fancied themselves in. I'm going to say that Southampton at home are potentially able to just get the job done, maybe catch them lacking a bit. Not very convincing, but I'm going to go for the home victory for Saints. James, who have you got in that one?
Again, Saints, were able to do well against Newcastle, but Jack, I have a weird feeling that this is. But bear in mind, I'm trying to think the last time this fixture was played in because I'm pretty sure Saints got relegated a couple of seasons ago. But Jack, I see this being another one-all draw. I always said that there is going to be that game that's going to be the dullish one, the final game of the match of the day show. I feel like this is going to be the one, and usually I would say 0-0, but I'm going to sit on the fence and say 1-0 in this situation.
James, we'll stay with you. Fulham versus Leicester. Obviously, we already touched on Spurs. We haven't seen them play yet this season. Same with Leicester. We're going to see them playing in about 17 minutes' time. Fulham versus Leicester. How have you got this one going?
Again, both teams to me are kind of classic Premier League teams in their way. Fulham are a classic Premier League team in terms of view of when they had Henri Camara, Roy Hodgson, and all them guys there, Jimmy Bullard and Leicester. Just the fact that they won the Premier League, Jack, that automatically makes them like a
Nice.
Premier
Yep.
League classic team. But as I said, Jack, Leicester with the start that they've had, with the players that they're looking to bring in, it doesn't inspire you. Here's a team who couple like they won the Premier League, and just to see where they are right now is a bit odd. Fulham, on the other hand, seem to have a good transfer window. We're quite unfortunate, probably based on the amount of missed chances, quite unfortunate not to, take a point from Manchester United based on the fact that United scored a late goal there. They do have some players there. The biggest factor for me is Adama Traore. If he can somehow just find a way to get himself going, the problems that he can cause overall is seamless. I see this being a 2-1 win for Leicester City. No, not Leicester City,
Ooh.
Fulham. Fulham.
Okay, I was going to say you talked one way and said the opposite. Um, right. So for me, I'm going to go 1-0. Yeah, I think it's a much more defensive game. I do think Leicester will probably go straight back down. Again, not overly inspired with what they have going on. Obviously, losing the likes of Enzo Maresca, I don't think is great. Fulham lost João Palhinha. That's not ideal. I don't think in any world is that going to be a good thing. Losing Tosin as well at centre back, I don't think was great. Sasa Lukic looked okay against Manchester United. I don't know how much they really troubled them, but I thought he looked okay. Obviously, supposedly talks have reopened for them to get Scott McTominay. Again, not really a João Palhinha replacement, in my opinion, but I guess we'll see how that kind of plays out. And yeah, again, I mentioned this probably in my last video. I think Emil Smith-Rowe is going to quietly have a pretty nice season. I don't expect him to be the centerpiece at Fulham, but I do expect him to contribute. I think he showed some sparks against Manchester United, and I do think with the players around him as well, I think he's going to be able to do it. And James, another thing I think Fulham that goes quietly underrated, they've got some nice fullbacks. I kind of like Anthony Robinson, and they got some serious players there across the team. I do like is it Bassi, Calvin Bassi at centre back. He's a bit of a character, despite his miss kick in the game as well. So I think kind of a defensive performance from Leicester, which Fulham are able to just kind of grind them down. Man City, the champions for several years now versus Ipswich, pretty convincing 3-0 win. Look, I'm not going to kind of over talk this. I think Kieran McKenna is kind of a great young manager and has some real kind of upside for the future. Maybe a future England manager, maybe a future manager of a top Premier League team. I do just think Man City, Pep Guardiola, the players they have coming back, even without the players coming back, I still think they'll be able to do a number on this Ipswich team at home. Going to be in total control of this game, and I don't think Ipswich are going to provide too much of a threat. If Ipswich were at home, slightly more fascinating game, but just because they're at the Etihad, I think there's going to be no problem here for Man City. Clean sheet, 3 goals, maybe Haaland with all three, and move on to the next game. How do you got this one going, James?
I do have a Haaland hat trick guy, Jack, but I still see a bit more on City side. I'm going to say 5-0, Jack. This is the first time this game has been played since 2001 in the Premier League. So, again, a little bit of history there for you. Um, Ipswich have been stitched up a little bit. How can you be giving Liverpool and then Man City in your first two games, which is absolutely crazy. But at the same time, get these games out the way, and then you could probably have more winnable games here. But the hardest game to play in the whole of Premier League is going away to Etihad, first game of the season there. You know what Haaland's like on a 3 p.m. kickoff, Jack. 3-0 City.
3-0 City.
No, no, not
James,
3-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0.
5-0. Yeah, I've got you down there. Right, James, we will come back to you though with Aston Villa versus Arsenal. James's debut, picking the Arsenal game before me. Aston Villa, though, the opponents, kind of a tricky one. How do you think this one's going to go?
Damn, interesting enough, Villa were the reason why Arsenal won the league last season. They took 6 points off us, Jack, which was huge. And obviously the game at the Emirates, granted, it is a Villa park, and the way Villa play Arsenal will have space in behind to operate. We weren't able to take advantage of that. Unai Emery does love to spoil the party, Jack. He really, really, really does love to spoil the party. I'm gonna sit on the fence here because I generally like this is a game that's difficult for us. The fact we lost there twice, we lost them twice last season. Unai Emery doesn't want Arsenal to get an inch. Arsenal obviously need to get off on a good start. I'm gonna say 1-0, Jack.
Damn it. Well, hopefully you guys will know what I'm gonna have mine as based on my reaction. Yes, I also have it as 1-1. Look, I don't think Arsenal are gonna go 0 for 6 in terms of points available against Aston Villa this season. Do expect Arsenal to pick up a couple of points. And again, I think, if you're looking in kind of a points way about where you can find improvements across the whole of the season, I think Arsenal have to start with their points that they lost against a team like Aston Villa. James, unless you can tell me otherwise, I think Aston Villa might have been the only team to take all 6 from Arsenal. Don't know if you
100%,
know that off the top of your
100%,
head, but
100%. There was no other team. Arsenal, yeah, they were the only team to take points off us.
but again,
Six, all six.
in, but again, in my opinion, two very easy wins in terms of like objective wins are a draw when you have to go away and then a win when you're at home. That's easily picking up 4 points to go to your points tally into the next season. I think Mikel Arteta, as much as this might sound kind of unambitious, he might go into this game looking for a draw. I think it's going to be nice and tight. I think that actually Aston Villa's players they brought in will actually lend itself to being potentially a tighter game as well, especially with somebody like Onana kind of into the midfield there as well. And I just think Arsenal will look at this as if they can get out with a draw, they've done a pretty decent job. So I'm going to stick with 1-1 as well. Moving on, we will stick with me. Bournemouth versus Newcastle. This is my upset of the week. I'm going to say that Bournemouth at home are actually capable of beating this Newcastle side. I just don't think things are brilliant at Newcastle right now. I think there's stuff going on behind the scenes. I think there's some disagreements taking place. I think I don't necessarily see what's going on in the transfer market. Interesting to see what happens with Bruce, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, Anthony Gordon in the last few weeks of the transfer window as well. Sandro Tonali coming back. How does that look? I think there was a red card right to Fabian Schär. So immediately the back line's already been disrupted straight away. And James, I just think that this Bournemouth team and Antonio Raiola, they can play. Bournemouth have signed some nice players. I think they got the guy from Porto, didn't they? 40 million euros. Evan Nilsson, I think. They got a guy who I'm very fond of, who was on loan at Roma last year, and Dean Hyson as well at centre back. And I just think that Bournemouth are slowly building something and they might be able to catch Newcastle out here. So I'm going to go for 2-1 Bournemouth win versus Newcastle United. James, how have you got that one going?
Jack, I'm tempted. I'm honestly tempted to go for the 2-1 too, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. But just based on the last 4 games, Bournemouth are unbeaten in the last 4 against Newcastle, which makes a big difference. Interestingly enough, 3 of them games ended up as a draw. So that probably works in my favor a little bit. I'm going to sit on the fence here, Jack, and not really sit on the fence. I'm going to expect a nice attacking game. Both teams really going for it, Jack. I'm going to put down 2-2 in this game.
Two. I love seeing James put down these draws as points for me to take here, I reckon. Right, James, we'll stick with you. Wolves versus Chelsea. Chelsea obviously just losing out to Man City and Wolves. I've completely forgotten what happened to Wolves. Wolves beaten pretty convincingly by Arsenal. How do you have this one going?
Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. Jack. It's not looking good for them. I'm just going to bring up the last bit of history here. Last three games against Wolves, Chelsea have lost all three, Jack. And that kind of goes into what I'm thinking in this game. Here's a team who a lot of stuff going on, Jack. A lot of moving parts. A lot of players are unsure. Just a lot of chaos going on, Jack. Hmm. I'm gonna say 2-1 Wolves.
Man, right, I'll
Just
just
realized
get
how
clear of
bad that
this.
was.
Um, right, 2-1. James has got Wolves beating Chelsea there. Look, again, James, respect you going back into the history books and finding out what is going on there and to help you with your picks. I'm going off gut again, and I'm just going on what I think. I haven't picked too many draws this week. I've got Villa and Arsenal as one, and I've got Wolves and Chelsea as one as well. I do think this will be 1-1. I think Chelsea will obviously be cognizant and aware of the history, but again, with all the changes constantly happening at Chelsea, I don't think there's a massive amount you can read into the history of this fixture. Um, I think what the lack of cohesion, the lack of chemistry, and the lack of understanding means in the Chelsea squad in general, just with, players on the bench. James, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I saw a tweet about it as well. Some kid came on for Chelsea. I think it might have been their third or fourth sub, and I was like, never seen that guy in my life. Never seen him play for any other team. No idea, but apparently he makes a match day squad in the Premier League for Chelsea Football Club. No idea who the kid was. And again, apologize. No offense to that kid, but best of luck to you. I had no idea who it was. Chelsea do though, James, have some game changers. Again, are we going to see well-crafted team goals where we look at chemistry and we go, "Wow, things are really clicking"? Blah blah blah. No, but can we see Cole Palmer get half a yard and score? Can we see Nkunku get half a yard and score? Can we see Pedro Neto put in a nice ball for somebody like Nicholas Jackson, or can a centre back score a header from a set piece? Yeah, absolutely. All these things can happen. And again, Wolves, Gary O'Neill, there's a little bit of a style of play. They've lost a couple of players. I do expect them to reinvest in the transfer window as well. I'm not saying that'll impact this game. I do expect better from them. I just think that it'll be kind of close. I think that it'll be a draw. Go ahead, James.
The one thing I'm gonna say, don't be surprised if Pedro Neto comes back to haunt his team. That could be a thing. Pedro Neto playing against Wolves for the first time. That really could be a thing. But I
There
don't
you
know. I'm
go,
just not
guys.
confident with the Chelsea team.
James's bet of the week is Pedro Neto to score against Chelsea. If it doesn't happen, you against Wolves. If it doesn't happen, you come find him. Um, Right, we'll stick with me. Anfield, opening game at Anfield for Liverpool Football Club. James, I'm gonna I don't know, I feel weird about this because there's something about Brentford and with Tony, without Tony, I don't think it matters. Brian Mbeumo's kind of nice. They've got some good athletes across the pitch. There's a way of playing. There's an understanding, a real teamsmanship. Thomas Frank hasn't playing half decent football. Still got Liverpool winning. I think there might be goals in this game. And I know you might look at 1-0 and think, well, if you think there's goals in this game, why have you only put one goal in? I'm just going on the fact I think there might be lots of missed chances. I'm not saying any reason as to why that might be. I've just got this weird gut feel about this game that Liverpool are just going to sneak this in kind of an ugly way in the, I don't know, 75th to 85th minute, something like that. How have you got this one playing out?
Um, I think this has been Arnold's first game at home, seeing seeing the fans in a competitive game. Um, I look at Liverpool Anfield. I know how dominant they were at Anfield. Granted, they did fall off coming to the end of last season, but we know what Liverpool are. Um, at like at home and how much they want to make it a fortress. They still got a lot of top players there. I'm going to say Jack is going to be a 3-0 victory to Liverpool.
Well, there you have it, guys. There is our Premier League predictions for game week 2 in the Premier League. We are going to say, please remember that we don't know how Spurs looked. We don't know how Leicester City looked. We don't know the state of injuries because we wanted to get this video out to you well in time on a Monday evening in preparation for the week ahead. Let us know how you got on in game week 1. Remember how we do the points. Correct result is 1 point. Correct score is a bonus point. At the moment, without having Leicester and Spurs played one another, I'm leading James by 1 point so far. So if you can figure out your own points total, drop it in the comments and let's see how you guys are getting on compared to me and James. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to make our way to 2,000 subscribers. Hit a like on the video as well. Comments for your predictions for this game week. And until next time, me and James, we will see you.